Welcome to Reality of the Rose with your host, Natalie Sprink.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 220 of Reality of the Rose. I'm your host, Natalie Sprink. Well, thanks again for joining me today. Wow, if you're watching this, it is a crazy sight. I haven't been here in a little bit, but I'm back with you now, so that's all that matters. But looking kind of like a wild one. I'm a hot mess this morning. I'm recording this on Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers. I decided not to do 1 ounce of anything. I had my little eye patches on, and I am doing a hair mask today, and my hair was just gross and tangly. I'm not sure why. So I brushed it this morning to get the tangles out before I did my mask. And so now you know what my hair looks like when I brush it out. It is wild. So, I don't care. I really could care less what I look like, and that's a lie. I could care less what I look like. When I do my podcast. I don't know why that's any different than a day-to-day basis, because of course I care what I look like. Don't we all? Well, at least I do. When I'm all about the outfit and not looking like, I'm sickly and a homeless person. Like, it's wild. But yeah, I guess I don't really care what I look like on here, because you know me and you love me, and you know all my faults, and you know just about close to everything there is to know about me. Those of you that listen, you may as well know what I look like on a weekend morning, when I haven't done anything to myself. So, but again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I know that mothers come in all shapes and sizes. Meaning that you don't just have to be a mother to a child born to you. You've got stepmothers, which I am. You have dog moms, which I am. You have women who are like mothers to certain people that maybe lost a mom, or people that have not great relationships with their mom, but they had a grandma that raised them that may as well have been a mom. Or you have all facets of a mom, and what a mom means, and how they have cared for you and loved you. And so I think that this day is for absolutely all moms out there, not just ones that gave birth. So I hope that you all feel appreciated. I know sometimes as a mom, it can be hard. It is the most gratifying job you will ever have, but it's also the most difficult job you have ever had. It's like they say, you wear your heart outside of your body, and that you're only as happy as your saddest child. And that is so true. You like experience just the gamut of feelings. I know. So I'll get to this a little bit more in a second, but as I've said before, I am officially a grandma now, and I just got to have a whole weekend with baby Stevie. And Kenzie and I, who is her mom, had a conversation about the love that you have for your child. And I'm just speaking from my experience. I know, again, all those mothers of all types feel this way, but for me, even when I was pregnant with like my kids, I would think, like, I love this child of mine so much, but until like they were born and I'm holding them and caring for them, did I know the love that you experience. And in my opinion, it's a love that's even different from the love you have for your parents, or the love you have for your spouse. It's just this is like full, encompassing, absolutely unconditional love that you just can't describe. And Kenzie agreed that, like, now she knows what I meant, like, when I said that. It's just it literally is an indescribable feeling. And so for all of you moms out there, having that feeling, also makes you susceptible, I think, to, you know, the hurts and pains and trials of your children, because it's like you feel it with them. And even now, what I'm experiencing, as mine are both, like, all of our kids are now grown. My three stepsons now, two of them are married, one has their own baby, one is getting married in August, and then my own children, they're like adults and they're having their own lives. And it's like this whole other feeling. For me, again, this is just my experience, but I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels these things, that the love is just as strong, but you can't help but to feel a little bit like, who am I now? And, am I really that important anymore? And do I, you sometimes as a mom, when they're young, feel like they're so reliant on you, and you get overwhelmed, and you're doing everything for them, and there's not enough minutes in the day to take care of them, and there's times where you're like, I just can't do this, it's too much. But then when they're all gone, you almost want that feeling back, because at least you feel like you're, needed in that respect. Someone needs you, someone's completely relying on you, they count on you for so many things, and now they're not counting on you for all those things. And it's this feeling of like, just, not knowing how important you are and where your role as a mother is right now. And you used to be smarter than them and give them advice, and now I feel like they're smarter than me. And what's my purpose now, as a mom, but also as a woman? And gosh, so as a mom, I'm sure dads feel this as well, but I would venture to guess that these empty nest feelings as a woman are like, we feel it deeper. And it's just difficult to navigate through your whole life. And then it changes again when you become a grandma. And granted, Stevie is not my blood grandchild, but after seeing her for a weekend, she feels like blood. I actually cried when I left. We had to leave, and I just, like, I didn't expect that necessarily. I really didn't. Like, I knew I would just adore every second being with her, but I didn't expect the emotion that I felt when leaving her. And I think it's partially because they live a little ways away, and I didn't know exactly when. I still don't know when I'll see her again, but it was just like holding her. So I was there for like 3 full days, and tried, got to feed her, got to burp her. I mean, this little tiny, I've not held a baby that tiny and cared for in any capacity a baby that little since my own kids. And I mean, it came back like this, albeit there's so many different things and ways they do things now, but the essence is the same. And just holding her, like, against me, burping her, and just holding her while she sleeps on my shoulder is, I just can't describe it. It's like the best, most, like, just feeling of love and caring for something that you just ever could feel. I just, it was amazing, and I've always heard that it's almost more fun to be a grandma or a grandpa than a parent, because, like, you don't necessarily have the responsibility, so to speak, but you just get to love them and have fun with them and enjoy them. And, like, I know that feeling now, and I just didn't want to put her down. I absolutely didn't want to put her down. Allie was along, and for a couple of the days, Tyler came too, as did my mother-in-law. So we had to take turns. The poor child. Kenzie and Matthew barely got time with her except like at night, but I never wanted to give her up. I just wanted to hold her all the time. So it was just, I want to move there, basically. And so, and Kenzie and Matthew, it was like such a heartwarming thing to see them as parents. And I just loved watching that as well, sort of from the background, because I was so impressed with how they worked together and how they were doing this everything together. I've, I know there's exceptions to this, but I feel like that's partly a generational thing. The older generations, I think, will attest to this, that, when you have your kids, not that the dads don't love them and care for them too, but, at least in my experience, I changed 98% of the diapers. I gave 98% of the baths. I breastfed. So, and we didn't supplement with a bottle because I didn't care though. I really didn't care. That was totally fine with me. But they didn't get a bottle until I knew that they were going to be done breastfeeding, so there wasn't like they do now where they pump some and keep breast milk so that dad can feed her too and take part in that. And which I think is amazing. But like, that's like, I feel like maybe a little different than it used to be. And so I don't know, but they were just so, like, Matthew as a dad was just so attentive and right on top of things. And, you know, Kenzie, you could just like feel the love that she has for Stevie. And, like, she would tell her when she walked into a room after us having held her about how much she missed her. And it was just, for half an hour. And it's so true. But anyway, it just really warmed my heart to be there with them. And I was very thankful that they let us stay there at the house with them. Cause I know being new parents, she was only a week and a half old, can be very, very overwhelming and a lot. And, there's possibly postpartum and all that to deal with. So we tried to make it as easy on them as possible. We shopped for them. We cooked for them. We took care of them. We took care of Stevie so they could take naps and get some work done and things like that. So we tried to not be a hindrance. We tried to be a help. But anyway, it was just the most amazing weekend. And I just came back so like fulfilled and happy, but also a little sad because I want to see her and older again. So yeah, that was my weekend last weekend. And it was just like, I carried that with me. I took so many pictures. I just keep looking at the pictures over and over and over again. And I know that when I see her again, she's going to look different, which is also the crazy thing about like having a newborn, is that they change so much so quickly. So anyway, again, just to reiterate, like, happy Mother's Day to every single mom out there. Hope that it was a fantastic Mother's Day. Hope you feel appreciated and loved and do every day. All right. So getting into the podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about several different shows today. The first show is The Valley. I haven't talked about that much this since it started. Just kind of mentioned it. I think it's getting lost in the whole summer house fiasco with West and Amanda. But The Valley was really getting dark. Like, the first seasons of The Valley just felt dark and sad, and you almost came away from it like depressed because we had Jax. Jax is no longer a part of the cast, and I think that has helped things. But he was just such a erratic male presence, not only for Brittany but sort of everybody else. It almost just stressed me out watching him. He had admitted to drugs and alcohol addiction, and last season he was in a recovery center for them, but he still was super toxic to Brittany, and it was just hard to watch. And then there was also lots of camaraderie, or not camaraderie, the opposite. There was lots of conflict with Jesse and Michelle. They were getting a divorce. They were going through that split and the divorce and all of that. And they were at it all the time, fighting. We all like drama, but like seeing these couples all at each other's throats and never like having fun, it was just, I don't know, hard to watch. You like drama in a show, but so much drama and so much dark drama just was ugh. So to me, this season is a lot better. For one, Jax is not filming anymore, and God, I'm sorry, names are hard. Brittany is now with somebody else, and so he's kind of showing up too on camera. Jesse is now has a girlfriend, and he and Michelle and Jesse actually get along. The girlfriend, Lacey, and Michelle don't really get along awesome, but at least they can be in the same room. Lacey is filming with them last year, apparently, at the finale. There was some big to do at the filming of the finale where Lacey was present and she wasn't supposed to be filming. She hadn't signed any contract. And so I'm going to take my eye patches off. They've been on forever. Whatever. It was a very contentious situation, but they showed us a little of the background footage on one of the episodes. But it's fun actually seeing Michelle and Jesse get along, and she actually is kind of teases him. He kind of teases her because they're still together. They still go on trips together. It's the same friend group, so they're still in the same friend group, but they tolerate each other, and they actually, seem like they halfway get along now, which is funny, but so different to watch, because from the beginning of the Valley, from the very first episode, it was combative and it seemed toxic. So that's fun to watch. I like that. Tom Schwarz and Lala from Vanderpump, the old Vanderpump Rules, have now joined the cast as well. And there's a lot of people who don't necessarily care for Lala. She, at least on Vanderpump, was polarizing. I always liked her. I like watching her. I like her confidence. I like her saying what's on her mind, even if it maybe is a little hard to hear. But I always have liked her. I think she's gorgeous. I also like how she dresses. She was the one who, a funny storyline this season is, and it's not really a storyline, they just mentioned it once, but so she is not married any longer. And so but she wanted another child. She has one already with somebody else, and an ex of hers, but she wanted another child. So she had one on her own. So she had a sperm donor, and they had on the last season of Vanderpump Rules, had a whole storyline about that. But so the baby's born now and everything. And they were talking on one episode about how he looks a lot like Luke, who is Kristen's significant other, the one she had a baby with. So she has a baby this year, but how he almost, because it's a girl and she has kind of strawberry blondish hair, as does Luke. And someone joked, like, low key, she kind of looks like Luke. And we'll come to find out Luke had been a sperm donor years ago. And so his sperm is out there. And it's so funny because it's like, could she actually be Luke's child? But because there was something else too, because the descriptions of, I guess when you get the sperm donated, you get like a description of the person, and, so you can determine which one you choose, and qualities about the person, things like what they did for a living and just things like that. And something else matched up to Luke, but I thought that was funny. So also Kristen and Luke have had a baby. This is her very first child, and she is really struggling. So they're having a storyline about her and Luke, and how like it's 3 months in, and she's really having a hard time, like with like intimacy issues. Like she does not want to have sex yet. She's just not ready. She doesn't like her body yet. So she's having some postpartum issues, and Luke is feeling like, like he's not important to her, that, he wants to know that they're still a couple too, first and foremost. And so it's like the man-woman version of that whole issue of being postpartum. And I feel like that's a super relatable topic, even though like you kind of hate it for them. I think it's so relatable for so many people. So like that's a fun storyline to watch. But Tom Schwarz too, I really like him a lot. And I just think he is fun to watch. He seems like such a good guy. I know he is on Nick Vile's podcast a lot. They have him on as a guest just to like hang out and talk and things like that. And he was on this past week. I listened to an episode, and it got me to thinking, because they were kind of trying to he knows he knows a lot of the cast of Summer House. So this whole West Amanda situation, he's in touch with and knows a lot on more of a firsthand basis and not just the rumors. And so Nick was asking his opinions on it. And I was listening to it and Nick was really wanting some dirt from him. Like he was wanting to say, West is a scumbag and I can't believe he did this to him. Amanda, what a bitch. Like, I can't believe she did this to Sarah. He was wanting that kind of content, I believe, but Schwartz was not giving it. And he was saying, he was saying, I think it's wrong. I don't like what he did. This is not something I would have done. He could have chose a different way. He was very rational in his talking about it and his viewpoints. And I got to thinking about it and I was like, you know, part of me was listening to it thinking like, come on, give us some more dirt, like give us some grit. I want to hear something here. But then I got to thinking about real life and myself outside of watching all these shows and wanting all of this drama. And it just made me have even more respect for Tom Schwartz because I feel like that's the kind of person he actually is. And I think actually in life, all of us should sort of think of things along the lines that he was and not being so quick to talk about somebody behind their back. Or even if you're thinking in your head, something that would actually hurt someone or make the situation worse. Or if you just want to gossip about them and talk about them behind their back, much less on, a nationwide, worldwide podcast that very many people listen to. I just had to have respect for the fact that he was keeping it low key and that he was like not wanting to hurt feelings and he was not wanting to perpetuate the nasty talk about it because in the end with Amanda and West and as with everything, like I was just kind of feeling like a learning lesson from it. It's not going to help to badmouth someone, especially when it wasn't directed at you. If someone wronged you, maybe that feels a little bit different. But in this respect, West and Amanda didn't wrong me. They didn't wrong Tom Schwartz. They didn't wrong Nick Bile. They wronged Sarah. They wronged Kyle specifically. And it just like, what's the point? And especially on the internet and going online and just ripping them up one side and down another, telling them they should kill themselves, telling them they're worthless, telling them they're pieces of shit. Like, if you think it, you don't have to say it. I feel like in life that is true as well. And I'm so guilty of it. I'm one of the first to gossip. If someone says something about someone else that's a rumor, I'm like, really? What did you hear? Oh my God, that's crazy. Well, I heard blah, blah, blah. Don't we all do that to an extent? And I know that it's hard not to, but it feels so much more, it feels so much more appropriate. It feels more like what Jesus would want me to do. It feels more like, like who treat someone how you would want to be treated. And if I did something wrong, I wouldn't want to hear the negativity. I wouldn't want to hear what a terrible, awful, worthless person I am. And it just kind of made me think about real life and how maybe we should aspire to be people that hesitate more before they talk ill about somebody and maybe think about the repercussions of what you say, and not even just in the sense of talking about someone else, but even before you spew something that is just something that isn't nice to anybody, directly even. Like, think about it before you say it. And, you may think it in your head, but it's not necessary to say it out loud, and give people the benefit of the doubt, give grace. I feel like that could probably make the world a better place. So anyway, that was just like something that I took away from that conversation, and it just kind of like hit me while I was listening to it. That is just an attribute that maybe we should all aspire to. But yeah, so The Valley I think is really a good show this season. If you haven't tuned in yet, we're only about 4 or 5 episodes in, so it's not too late to catch up. But I think it's going to be a good one. Also, Schwartz is going to. He just introduced on the last episode his new girlfriend, and he's still with her, and she is so gorgeous. She is cute as can be, and he just seems so adorable with her when he talks about her. I just love him so much. So I really like that Tom Schwartz and Lala have been added to the cast. We also have Ladies of London that I didn't talk about too much either, but that I really enjoyed. And it was the first season of it. And so it was a bit of a shortened season, because I always do shortened seasons of shows that they're just introducing. I believe Ladies of London was actually a show years ago. I never watched it. It was quite a while ago, but they rebooted it, brought it back with a totally new cast. But I really enjoyed it as well. It just finished last week too, and I have to say I really enjoyed it a lot. I just said that. But I feel like the characters they brought on, the very first like male, I guess, Real Housewife, Mark is his name, and he was like a permanent. It's not a Real Housewives show though; it's Ladies in London. But they had Mark, who was a member of the cast. I mean, he was on a lot. He wasn't really just friend of. I don't know that he was in the cast picture at the beginning, but it was fun watching him on there as well. What I and the characters were so different. You had your characters that there were a couple that were a bit younger, like one was a model. There was a couple Americans that currently live in London. They had one girl that was an American who lived there, but she teaches etiquette courses. There was a woman who was married, and her husband, they were wealthy, and he left her, and so he kind of left her with nothing, and so she's kind of like rebuilding her life and has this teensy tiny apartment with a bird. And like like the personalities are so different. There's another American woman who is a little bit more opinionated and boisterous and kind of likes to be the center of attention. You have that kind of personality. You have Mark, who is like the gay friend who everyone wants, and you get a whole new perspective from him on everything. Then you have like Margot, who is also American and has a family, has young kids. But she was kind of painted to be the villain, although I was very pro Margot and really liked her a lot. They had like very many different personalities, but they meshed really well as friends. It seemed like they were actually knew each other quite well. I don't know that they all hang out all the time together, but I thought that the personalities meshed very well. And I really enjoyed the storylines. I really enjoyed this first season. I just from the get-go, the topics that they got into and their energy and vibe that they gave. It was like they were meant to be housewives, kind of like Rhode Island. Just loving that one as well. But they were talking, so I really enjoyed that. I'm hoping that they bring that back for a second season, which also brings us to Rhode Island, which again, these women were absolutely meant to be housewives. It's crazy that they were like sitting on the shelf somewhere, not being housewives for us. And Rhode Island is a state that's this big, but they found these women that, so I didn't really realize, I guess, that it feels like Rhode Island has definite Jersey vibes. They have a bit of that same sort of Jersey accent. I know Rhode Island's right there by Jersey, so why not? But I don't know why I didn't expect that. But there too, they have these women that are meant for TV. They are willing to share every facet of their life. They're willing to put it out there. They are willing to show us the drama. We love that. Yeah, I get it. Some of it is probably hyperbolic. Some of it is just, maybe accentuated for the cameras, but like it's there, and that's what we want. Otherwise, it would be boring, correct? Like we want this, but I think because Rhode Island's so small, a lot of these women actually are friends, have known each other forever, and they reference each other and other people in each other's lives. I don't know how many times they've said like, "Oh, I went to high school with him. We partied together," like that type of thing. And again, they have kind of young to older. Never want to say old because old means like it's literally like my age, but they have like early 30s somethings up into their 50s. And again, they each kind of bring their own thing to the screen. And Ashley Canetti is on it, and she is doing an absolute amazing job of going from being in Bachelor Nation to being a housewife. Now, to be fair, she's probably the most wild and non-dramatic of all of them, except that she still cries a lot, which is amazing. And I don't think it's performative for the cameras because she has that reputation. But it's actually so funny. But she gets along pretty much with everybody, and just love watching her and Jared. They're definitely meant for this type of thing, and I think it's so cool that my two worlds are colliding and that she is on this show. Um, but I feel like they're seasoned veterans of the Real Housewives world. But there is one. I really like all of them, but there is one. Her name. Oh God, names are so hard. We got Rosie is her name, and she's kind of the one that brought, I think, Ashley into the group, because Ashley really didn't know these women because it's Jared. I was wrong. I think on the past podcast I said she was originally from Rhode Island. She is not. Jared's family is from Rhode Island. Excuse me, and that's what took them there. So she didn't really like herself know a lot of these women, but she got to know Rosie because Rosie and her husband and her and Jared like hang out. And so Rosie brought her into the group. And I love Rosie. She seems to also have rubbed some of the women the wrong way, but I think I kind of like her for the same reasons as I like Lala, because she is no nonsense and she just kind of says things the way it is. But she also said something on this past week's episode, and if you haven't noticed, I'm kind of going down this course here for this week. I'm like trying to watch these shows and even take some of the stuff that I see on the shows and relating it to, real life or my life, or things that might have meaning beyond just the show if you kind of look for it. But she said something, there was sort of a topic about one of the women claiming that she is one way when she's around everyone else, and that maybe she's not really quite like that. And I guess they weren't really questioning her character, but questioning whether she's fake or not. And she brought up the point, and I feel like this is such a true thing as well, but she brought up the point and was actually very real about it, which I appreciated, that that's not necessarily not true. Like that she is one way around the women, and she is like one way for the show, because she made the point of we're on a show. If I'm just going to be completely who I feel like I truly am, I would be of no benefit to the show, because I would just sort of be sitting in the background and not saying much. And like, that's just kind of who I am. But I'm here to make a show, and I'm here to be a person. And I, I don't know, I guess I didn't feel like she was saying I'm fake for the cameras. It's just that she was maybe even, they had this party that was like a masked dinner. And at the dinner, they were supposed to wear a mask to the dinner that they were provided. And then they were each supposed to go around the table and tell something to everyone that maybe everyone didn't know, a struggle that they went through or whatever. And then they took off their mask. So it was kind of like a dual meaning, if you catch my drift. So so they did that. And so this was kind of in her interview, but that she was saying this, not like to the women, but she was saying that don't we all kind of wear masks for certain things? And how I am wearing a mask because I want to appear like this strong, opinionated, independent woman. I want to stand up for myself to these women. If I see someone doing something I don't agree with, I'm going to call you out on it. One, because I'm on a kind of a TV show to do that, I mean, and that's a true statement. If you're going to ask me to be on this TV show, I'm going to give you what you want. I can't completely be someone I'm completely not. I think on like Instagram, when you talk about pictures and reels and things like that, you can get away with that. But I feel like on a TV show where they're filming you all day, every day, you can't completely get away with that. You're still going to like feel the essence of the person, if that makes sense. So she's like, I'm out there and I'm still who I am. I'm just a version of myself that is different. And but really to my core, I like being at home. I like being by myself. I like to not say much. I'm not usually the life of the party, or I'm not, if we have a dinner party, I'm not calling people out on their shit. And I feel like that's probably true, first of all, of every housewife. But then I like got to thinking about, myself, and even how I have sort of evolved from when I was 20 something to now. People talk about changing when you're in your 20s and you reach your maturity when you're in your 30s, or when you have kids, or there's like these timelines by which you meet these certain criteria. I feel like I continue to change all the time, even now. And whether that's due to hormones, which I feel like is part of the reason now, or if it's due to a life change, if you've moved, if you get divorced, if you like, so many things can change who you are and how you react and all of those things. And I feel like everyone is an evolution and is not just one way. I feel like when I am, in a group of people, and and it depends. Are you having cocktails or are you not? Are you with 4 people or are you with 50 people? Like, that is changes to me too. If I'm with like a core group of like, say, 6 to 8 people, I can be talkative and fun and be having fun. If you put me in a group of like 20, 30 people, and I start to sort of like sit back more and like just watch, and especially if it's like some of the people are people I don't know. But I take great satisfaction and happiness in sitting by myself right now. Tim is not home this weekend, and I sat and I watched a bunch of TV and I ate my popcorn and I ran some errands, and I was just sort of like happy and satisfied doing that. Absolutely, totally satisfied with not socializing. There's that part of me. And I don't think that I used to be like that so much. I could use a few hours like that and then I was fulfilled. But yet it also is different. Like last weekend, for instance, I'm around, my kids and my family. And so I'm kind of one way there. But if I'm around, like then we went to go visit Kenzie's parents, and then I feel like I'm a different level. So I think it's unfair when we necessarily call people fake, unless they are, you know, unless they're hurting someone in on one side of them and not on the other. Like if they're being harmful in those different personas, then that's different. But I think to an extent we're all just have different masks, so to speak, and it's not being fake, it's just having different masks. And it is a natural thing that I think everyone has in them, and it's okay. um Okay, so yes, Rhode Island, I highly recommend. I also am, so Summer House, we continue to see that progress every single episode. And they talk about it extensively on Watch What Happens Live each week, especially on, well, it feels like Andy's talking about it on every single Watch What Happens Live show of the week, but they especially talk about it on Summer House Night when they have guests from Summer House. But it is just like it's being talked about openly and what people think about the whole West and Amanda thing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I've talked about it quite extensively on this podcast, but go Google it. But if you watching it in a totally different light now that West and Amanda are together, and you're looking for little things that they're doing. And I think I talked about this last week, where it is well known that the editors are probably re-edited some of the shows, or newly editing it a little bit different than they may have had this not have happened. But we're seeing things from West and from Amanda that are so fascinating now that we know what we know, and wondering maybe something wasn't going on literally with them back then, but that there was feelings there. Whatever the case may be, it's just so interesting to watch it all from a different lens. But it's been talked extensively too. There was the leak that came out from the reunion. That was just a little tiny percentage of the entire reunion, but it is a very, very highly anticipated reunion, and I cannot wait for it. I will be glued to the TV with no interruptions if possible. And that should be coming up in the next few weeks. I believe there's 2 or 3 episodes. There shouldn't be many, because this past episode, it was like the last weekend of the summer. So I'd say 1 or 2 actually more episodes before the reunion. So it should be so good. Definitely going to be tuning in. I think they'll have people tuning in who didn't even watch necessarily the whole season. Will also be so interesting to see what they do next season. This will also be a lead-in. I heard this week that they have, so In the City should be starting pretty much, well, I think it starts next week, maybe. But I heard that they picked up cameras again with this whole West and Amanda thing. And because Amanda, Kyle, it's not Brittany, because she's from the Valley. Why do I always forget her? Lindsay are, I found something else out. This is so fascinating. So when I was at Matthew and Kenzie's, they were talking about this couple that they know, and I forget, it was an unrelated topic. And Matthew's like, you probably know her. She's like from The Bachelor or Bravo or something. And I was like, okay, which? Because it's not, those are 2 different things. And anyway, it was kind of dropped, and then it was brought up again later, and I was like, is she on The Bachelor or Bravo? Like, bring her up, like on like Instagram, let me see. And so they have good friends. And okay, let me see, back up. So they have a couple that they're good friends with. Matthew was good friends with him during the time that they were playing juniors hockey. And the woman, like, of the couple, her sister is on In the City. Like, and they knew them too. They are more friends with the other couple, but the girl's sister is going to be on In the City. Because he brought up her, because I was thinking, like, who could this be? He was saying her name, and I was like, that doesn't, Whitney, I think, is her name. And I was like, that's not clicking to me. Because I named a couple Whitneys from The Bachelor, and he's like, no, that's not it. Well, he pulled up her Instagram, and right there it said, like, whatever her name is, and then In the City. And I'm like, no way! I'm going to basically be best friends with somebody that's on In the City. Like, that's so cool. So I'm definitely going to be discussing that. I can't believe I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. But me, I always love it when I like know someone who knows someone who knows someone who's on Bravo. Like, again, that's like a 7 degrees of Bravo. Like, surely I know more than that person. But this is so exciting for me to watch this person. And yeah. But anyway, this should be starting very soon. And I heard they picked up cameras with this West and Amanda thing. Now, I don't think West is supposed to be part of the show. Like, in general, he wasn't one of the main characters, but I'm sure that there's all kinds of like friends of and girlfriends of and boyfriends of and things like that. So I don't know in what regard this is going to be on. Also, I'm interested just to see how the divorce of Amanda and Kyle plays out on In the City, which initially was going to be like the real kind of hot topic to watch on In the City is the continued demise of Amanda and Kyle. But now we have a whole other level of the Amanda and West. So highly anticipating In the City as well. So definitely we'll be talking about that one. We also have Real Housewives of Atlanta that is on now, and Southern Hospitality that is on now. I'm not going to discuss those at this point. Atlanta is a little for me this year. I mean, it's okay. Is probably my least favorite of the ones that are on right now. Southern Hospitality is really, really good. I feel like that is a very unappreciated show. In my opinion, I think it's really good. Doesn't matter that they're all younger than me, but I think that I love the storylines that they have. The characters they really bring it for entertainment purposes. And so I almost like Southern Hospitality more than Southern Charm. They're both reality shows taking place in Charleston, South Carolina, which is also a pretty small town considering um, the population are like the core friend groupness. Does that make sense? Like of the city, like they really truly know each other and hang out because the town is smallish. But anyway, enjoying both of those. Also, I think a hider, is that the word I'm trying to think of? A sleeper, a reality show sleeper that I watched season 1 of is The Secret Millionaire, which is on Netflix. And I don't know when it started. I just noticed it this past weekend. I turned on Netflix and it popped up. So I'm assuming it just came out. Season 2 just came out. And I believe I talked about it last year with season 1, but it is really good. It very much has Traders vibes. So it's not like about relationships or a dating reality show or things like that, but it's the basis of it is that there's $1 million. So and these aren't people we know. These are just civilians that get picked to be on this show. So we don't know them, or they're just regular people, I should say. But it starts off, the host is really good, Peter something or another. I think he's been in movies before, but he is a really good host as well. But the premise is that there's $1 million and it's like put in this little wooden box, and it is secretly left in one of the cast members' rooms. They all have the boxes, but one of them has the $1 million in it. And so the point of it is to like keep it secret that you have the $1 million, and everyone else is supposed to guess who the millionaire is. And then at the end of each show, they vote out who they think is the millionaire. But there's also all these other little, like the millionaire has to complete like a secret agenda. If he doesn't complete it, then he gets votes against him at the voting dinner. But they're funny. Like they're funny agendas. Like one of them was that let's see, what was it? He had to follow the guy who had to follow this other guy around for 45 minutes, like his shadow. He had to stay within like 15 feet of him. He just had to stay, like, when the guy was like, what are you doing? Why are you following me around? And they have to come up with reasons. But so everyone knows their secret agendas. So everyone is looking for like odd behavior of people. This other agenda was that like they gave him 3 clothespins and he had to clip them on people without them knowing. And if he did it, he completed it. This other one was that he had to say this phrase like 10 times without seeming weird about it. And it was like he got to pick the phrase, but the one he picked was it was a phrase. It was a millennial phrase, like come on. No, it's not. Come on. I can't even remember it. It was a phrase that like I didn't know, and he had to use it over and over again. And anyway, so that's kind of a comical part, to it, the agendas that they're given, but it's really good. It's really good. I got through like 5 episodes this weekend, or 6 even. But so I would highly recommend that one too. It's really good. So, yeah, I think that's this week's episode. I appreciate you guys so much. And let me know if you got other shows you want me to talk about, or talk about more, or talk about less. And, I really appreciate you joining me. I always forget how much of a catharsis having this show is. I have great love for speaking to myself in this camera. I feel listened to. Natalie, you listen to yourself so well. But I hope that I bring you guys any little bit of like something to look forward to, or like to hear my views. If there's anything else you'd like to hear, please let me know. I'd love to hear from any and all of you. And so I will talk to you next time. But until then, happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. Hope it was a great run. And be calm, be strong, be kind, and be grateful. Bye.